What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing. We're going to continue with the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series with this African-American giant, the great heavyweight champion, Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson fought his way through the white establishment to fulfill his boyhood dream of becoming a heavyweight champion of the world. Many achievements. He invented a wrench. He was a musical composer. Outstanding Jack Johnson. Let's take a look at his career. Born March 31st, 1878 in Galveston, Texas. 6 foot 1 inch and a quarter. Weighed 195 to 220 pounds. Managed by Sam Fitzpatrick. He was the son of a schoolhouse janitor. Worked as father's helper, tending cotton fields and on wharfs. Before leaving home to roam the country, became a stable boy at the racetrack, traveled north, and in Boston, took a fancy to Joe Walcott and helped him train. Started his fistic career in 1897 and didn't quit for upwards to 20 years. Fought the greatest men of his time, known as Little Arthur, engaged in many return battles with Hank Griffin, Frank Childs, Sam McVeigh, Joe Jeanette, and Sandy Ferguson, among other stars. Began climb towards top in 1906, and when Tommy Burns beat Marvin Hart to gain the title, which Jim Jeffries vacated, Johnson challenged him and followed Tommy to Australia, where they clashed on December 26, 1908, and Johnson won the World Heavyweight Championship by stopping Burns in the 14th round. Johnson knocked out Stanley Ketchel the following year, after Ketchel put Johnson down. Then in 1910, Jack battled Jim Jeffries into submission, and Jeffries' comeback an attempt to reestablish the heavyweight championship for the white establishment. The bout was halted in 15 rounds at Reno, Nevada. Tex Rickard was the referee. In 1912, he stopped Jim Flynn in 9 rounds, then went to England and Paris and remained aboard for several years. Accepted challenges from Jess Willard and was stopped in 26 rounds at Havana and lost the title. Last bout was in 1928. He fought in 112 contests, losing only 7. Great record. Was one of the pugilism's greatest, exceptionally clever, and best feinters in the game. Had a wonderful left jab. He died in an auto accident in Raleigh, North Carolina, July 10th, 1946. He was elected to the Boxing Hall of Fame in 1954. Let's take a look at his magnificent career. He began his professional career in 1897. He knocked out Jim Rocks in 4 rounds, defeated Sam Smith in 10 rounds. 1898, knocked out Reddy Brenner in 3 rounds and won against Jim Cole, good fighter, very good fighter, in 4 rounds. He drew with Henry Smith. 1899, he had 4 fights and was knocked out 1 time in May 6th by Klondike. Klondike was a very good fighter in Chicago. He was knocked out in 5 rounds. 1900, he had 1 fight. He defeated Josh Mills in 12 rounds. 1901, he faced February 25th, Joe Choinski in Galveston, Texas. He was stopped in 3 rounds. March 7th, John Lee Galveston, Texas, 15 rounds. April 12th, Charlie Brooks, Galveston, Texas, 2nd round knockout. And this continued throughout 1902. October 31st, he fought George Gardner, San Francisco, 20-round victory. Now, George Gardner challenged Jack Root for the light heavyweight championship. 1903, February 3rd, Denver Ed Martin, Los Angeles, 20-round victory. February 27th, Sam McVeigh, Los Angeles, 20-round victory. April 16th, Sandy Ferguson in Boston, 10-round victory. Joe Butler, outstanding fighter, May 11th, Philadelphia, 3rd round KO. Joe Butler was a very good African-American fighter. Very, very good. He's underrated. October 27th, Sam McVeigh, Los Angeles, 20-round victory. Outstanding victory because Sam McVeigh was an unbelievable fighter. See, all these fighters are very underrated. Sam McVeigh had an outstanding war with Joe Jeanette, perhaps the greatest fighter of all time. Outstanding fight. It was a great victory. December 11th, Sandy Ferguson, 20-round victory. 1904, February 16th, Black Bill, outstanding African-American fighter. In Philadelphia, 6th round, no decision. April 22nd, Sam McVeigh, San Francisco, KO'd him in 20 rounds. June 2nd, Frank Childs, Chicago, 6th-round victory. October 18th, Devin Ed Martin in Los Angeles, 2nd-round knockout. 1905, March 28th, Marvin Hart, San Francisco, 20-round loss. April 25th, Jeff Fords in Philadelphia, 4-round KO. May 3rd, Black Bill, Philadelphia, 4-round victory. May 19th, Joe Jeanette, Philadelphia, no decision, 6 rounds. Jack Moreau was a very good fighter. Black Bill, no decision in 6. Sandy Ferguson, 1 on a foul in 7. Joe Grimm, very dirty fighter. July 24th, Philadelphia, no decision in 6 rounds. November 25th, Joe Jeanette, Philadelphia, lost on a foul in 2 rounds. December 1st, young Peter Jackson in Baltimore, 12-round victory. That was a good victory for Jack Johnson. December 2nd, the next day, Joe Jeanette, Philadelphia, no decision, 6 rounds. 1906, January 16th, Joe Jeanette, New York City, no decision, 3 rounds. March 14th, Joe Jeanette, Baltimore, 15-round victory. April 19th, Black Bill, 7th-round KO. April 26th, Sam Langford in Chelsea, 15 rounds victory for Jack Johnson. June 18th, Charlie Hagley, Blue Coaster, 1-round victory. Amazing. Jeanette 2 more times, November 26th and December 9th. 10-round draw, 3-round victory. 1907, Jim Lang, Melbourne, Australia. It was in March 4th, 9-round KO. July 17th, Barford Simmons, Philadelphia, knocked him out in 2 rounds. Barford Simmons was a heavyweight champion, light heavyweight champion, and middleweight champion. Sella Berkey, September 12th, Bridgeport, defeated him in 6 rounds. November 2nd, Fireman Jim Flynn, San Francisco, KO'd him in 11 rounds. Kid Cutler, good fighter, August 28th, Reading, Pennsylvania, 1st-round knockout. November 2nd, Fireman Jim Flynn, San Francisco, KO'd him in 11 rounds. 1908, January 3rd, Joe Jeanette, New York, 3rd-round KO. Ben Taylor was a very, very good fighter. July 31st, in Plymouth, KO'd him in 8 rounds. Good win for him. December 26th, Tommy Burns, Sydney, Australia. Finally, Jack Johnson fulfills his boyhood dream by KOing Tommy Burns in the 14th round to win the heavyweight championship of the world. First African-American fighter to do so. First African-American fighter to get the opportunity to do so. As a matter of fact, they were so upset about that KO that was about to happen to Tommy Burns that they stopped the fight footage in the middle of Tommy Burns falling to the canvas. It's a shame. Victor McLaughlin, he turned out to be a movie star. A very good, I think he won the Grammys. Victor McLaughlin, March 10th, no decision in 6 rounds. May 19th, Philadelphia Jack O'Brien, no decision in 6 rounds. Tony Ross, June 30th, Pittsburgh, no decision in 6 rounds. Good fighter. October 16th, Stanley Ketchel, KO'd him in 12 rounds. Frank Moran, Pittsburgh, 4-round exhibition. You see now, Stanley Ketchel, this is what I'm talking about. The other video when I discussed Jess Willard's fight against Jack Johnson. Deals were to be made and deals were to be kept, not broken. Stanley Ketchel, there was a deal between him and Jack Johnson. See, Stanley Ketchel was a middleweight champion at that time. And the deal was, you guys shadow box a little bit for a few rounds. Then after a certain amount of rounds, somebody KO somebody, and everybody get paid. It's not what happened. Stanley Ketchel tried to take Jack Johnson's head off. So Jack Johnson got up and said, you know what, I'm done with this. And took out about 5 or 6 teeth of Stanley Ketchel and dropped him smooth out. And this is what happened in the Jess Willard fight. There was an arrangement made. The arrangement was not kept on the end of Jess Willard. And Jack Johnson just wasn't ready for Jess Willard at the time. He wasn't training, wasn't in shape. Couldn't do the 45 rounds. And he was stopped in 25. You know, it's just the way it was at that time. 1910, July 4th. James J. Jeffries, Reno, Nevada. Jeffries was pulled out. He was a former heavyweight champion. Pulled out of retirement to try and reestablish the heavyweight championship for the white establishment. He was KO'd in 15 rounds. 1912, July 4th, 2 years later, fireman Jim Flynn. Jack Johnson won in 9 rounds. The police ordered the bout to be stopped because fireman Jim Flynn kept headbutting Jack Johnson. I mean, this, you see this stuff in movies only. Johnson received $30,000 for his end. Jim Flynn didn't receive a dime. 1913, November 28th, Andre Sproul, Paris, 2nd round knockout. December 19th, Jim Johnson, battling Jim Johnson in Paris, 10-round draw. That was for the title. 1914, Frank Moran, June 27th, 20-round victory for Jack Johnson. December 15th, Jack Murray, Buenos Aires, 3rd-round KO for Jack Johnson. 1915. Now to prepare Jack Johnson as best he possibly could be prepared for this Jess Willard fight coming up, they sent over Sam McVeigh. April 3rd, and that was just a 6-round, basically sparring session. That's all he had. April 5th, Jess Willard, Havana. Jack Johnson was stopped in 26 rounds. That fight was scheduled for 45 rounds. Jack Johnson lost his heavyweight title. The referee was Jack Welch. If you go to my Jess Willard video, I explained what happened in that fight. And Jack Welch, well, just go to that video. So this continues, 1916, basically throughout the remainder of Jack Johnson's career. Fought Jack O'Brien in 1930, Chief White Horse in 1931, Joe Jeanette exhibition in 1945. Total bouts 114. Jack Johnson was killed in an auto accident June 10th, 1946 in Raleigh, North Carolina. He was on his way to see the Billy Conn and Joe Louis fight, their second bout. And he got into a car wreck. That's if that's what really happened. I don't know if he was forced off the road but that's what happened, unfortunately, for Jack Johnson. He was buried in Graceland Cemetery in Chicago and elected into the Boxing Hall of Fame in 1954. Jack Johnson was an asset to boxing because it opened up doors for African Americans. Although George Dixon was the first African American champion, but the first African American heavyweight champion goes to Jack Johnson. Salute to Jack Johnson. Here you have Jack Johnson in 1908 facing Tommy Burns for the heavyweight championship of the world. Tommy Burns took the title from Marvin Hart. And that fight was stopped in the middle of a KO on the part of Tommy Burns. The establishment at that time didn't want to see that happen. Here you have Jack Johnson preparing for his bout with Jim Jeffries. That turned out to be a 15-round knockout. Jim Jeffries, the Boilermaker, was an outstanding heavyweight champion, even though he didn't have a lot of fights. But he was just a very strong heavyweight champion. He once drank about 2 or 3 gallons of alcohol to cure pneumonia. Drank vodka and Bacardi and moonshine. And he was cured. Amazing. Jack Johnson made it to the Boxing Hall of Fame. He was elected 1954. Jack Johnson was the first African American to hold a heavyweight championship. He was born March 31st, 1878 in Galveston, Texas. Johnson began his career in 1899 and fought for 27 years until 1926. Known as Little Arthur, he is considered one of the finest defensive boxers of all time. He won the World Heavyweight title from Tommy Burns on December 26, 1908 in Sydney, Australia. The police stopping the bout in 14 rounds when Burns was a badly beaten fighter. The fight grossed the then startling figure of $131,000. The following year in 1909, Johnson defended the title against Stanley Ketchel, middleweight champion. In the 12th round, Ketchel dropped Johnson. Johnson quickly got up and knocked out Ketchel. On July 4th, 1910, Jim Jeffries came out of a 6-year retirement to try to regain the heavyweight title at Reno, Nevada, but Johnson easily knocked out Jim Jeffries in 15 rounds. Amazing story, Jack Johnson. Here you have Jack Johnson about to face Jim Jeffries. Here you have Bobby Gleason and Tex Rickard. Gentleman Jim Jeffries, as he was better known. The two greatest heavyweight pugilists in the world, who will fight for the purse of $101,000 on July 4th, 1910, and the pair of Western sporting men who will promote and arrange the many details of the battle. This was actually Jackie Gleason and Tex Rickard. Tex Rickard to your right, Jackie Gleason to your left. And here's Little Arthur, as he was called, heavyweight champion, Jack Johnson. This is Jack Johnson. Jim Jeffries. Great fight, great fight. This is one of my many portraits that I have. A double spreadsheet. I have about 80 of these. Johnson facing Ketchel. Got one with Jeffries facing Fitzsimmons. Got one Peter Jackson and Jeffries. Here you have Jack Johnson facing Jess Willard, the 1915 bout in Cuba, Havana. You have Jack Johnson being cared for here, if you will. Jess Willard knocks Jack Johnson out and won the title. This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I just want to take 1 second to thank two brothers. I consider them historians. Great deal of respect. Kurt Sugar Anderson and the brother Blood Boxing. And of course, the corner. My brothers Marlo and Trey X. Salute to you, brothers. Peace.